Good afternoon, everybody. It's 12:26. It's Dana Keel. Let me get to the eye line. Coming to you live from the Franklin Prayers headquarters with our Franklin Prayer of the Day. It is day 4 of 7 days of will/willingness. And I'm excited to be here. I'm going to work on my ums. I am, as a lot of folks know who see me on Facebook and who are in Toastmasters. I keep beating up the table. I'm in an organization called Toastmasters, and I'm coming to you late because I've spent the morning. We have our big fall humorous and table topics contest coming up Monday, September 11th. My brilliant co-partner, F3 area director, Eno Inwek, and I thought that laughter in the face of the history that surrounds that day would be a great day to celebrate. So we are. However, it means a lot of deadlines and a bunch of tasks, and leadership is new for me. So if there's any place that I'm willing to see this differently, really this is it, because I'm thinking, what have I gotten myself into? With that, at 1 minute, 17 seconds in, and I still have to go to work, and I still have to work through all the other things that need to be worked through. But with that, we're going to work on our ums. I said all that to say I got off track. That in Toastmasters, when you're in a Toastmasters meeting, they count your ums, because the quality of good speaking is poised. And when you are at a loss for a word, is not your go-to. So I got to work on it, because I was watching my playback and I have a lot of ums on here. With that, let us pray. Increase in us that will, that willingness that discovers our truest interest. Strengthen in us the resolution to perform what that will, that willingness dictates. I will let it be, and so it is. I see no eyes, and that's okay. I just look down because it just feels like I'm looking up. Whew. I'm just going to do a little bit of transparency and confession session. We're live from the Franklin Prayers headquarters. We've been working with a couple of scriptures. We've been working with Matthew 6:10, thy kingdom come, thy, just shook the whole table, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We've worked with the Luke 22:42, nevertheless, it doesn't start that way. It says, Father, if thou be willing, please remove this cup from me. Hey, Robin Bird song. Hey, pretty girl. Skinny bird, pretty girl, just bird. Hey there. Thank you for the thumbs up. I was saying, Luke 22:42, Father, remove this cup from me. If not, nevertheless, thy will, not my will. It's what Jesus is saying on the cross. And we know that remove this cup is a metaphor for, the situation in which he finds himself, the crucifixion. Whew. I saw another one today in my revealing word, and I wish that I brought the revealing word closer to the computer, because there are some things I'd like to share from there, but I'm going to do my best to remember the things that came up for me and stoke some embers that made me want to share. In the book of John, in the Christian scriptures, better known as, or known to most as, the New Testament, we talk a lot about, anybody that's new knows we distinguish scholarship kind of from what we've been used to hearing, and we do that out of respect and out of moving forward. We say, from a theological point of view, Christian scriptures because we call a New Testament because we call the other one an Old Testament. But out of respect to everybody's walk, that Old Testament is somebody's whole book. So to call it old, may not be PC, is what we say. And I'm with that. I'm with progress, because sometimes people are like, well, it ain't, but there's going to come the thing that you think is a big deal, but that somebody else doesn't think is a big deal. So we are humble to be kind to all. So what we say is Hebrew Bible, Christian scriptures, as a way to be balanced in our speak about both. So that's why I say from the book of John, in the Christian scriptures, better known, I'm going to look at this black thing and stop looking in the camera, because they told me if I look in the camera, it looks like I'm looking up. But we say Christian scriptures as opposed to New Testament, because for those who walk a different walk, they don't have Christian scriptures. So John is a book in, like I said, what most know as the New Testament. And I want to be fair. I'm talking to everybody, so whatever's comfortable. But I just always share a little bit of the scholarship. Don't want to major in minors, so that everybody's aware of kind of what's being said, the source of what's being said, and why it's being said. But in John, somewhere it says, and it was in my revealing word, it said, I come here to do the will of the one that sent me. Now, John is this amazing book in the Christian scriptures that paints a very articulate and a very loving and this really, really great reasoned out voice of Christ. When we look at what are called the synoptic gospels, and you look across the way, the red letter versions across there, Jesus and the story of Jesus, the Jesus who attained Christhood, they sound a little different. They give you the impression of maybe even a different guy. And so John is, that particular book is one of the most poetic. So it says that I've come here to do the will of the one that sent me. And for the last 3 days, we've been talking about will. We've been talking specifically about will and biting off smaller bites and not such big bites, and not being overwhelmed by the idea that somehow God's will is different from our will from ourselves. And then, because when we set that up, typically setting it up that way means that when I don't want to do what the small voice says, like I'm feeling bad about myself, I'm feeling like I'm in violation. And what I have been prescribing, and a lot of you were contributors to that yesterday, the prayer from A Course in Miracles, which I always share that I read, I am willing to see this differently. And I look at that prayer, and I shared that prayer yesterday as a gateway into moving in alignment, because that's all we're really saying. When we say not my will, but thy will, we're simply saying we just want to be in alignment with the core truth within us. We want to be in alignment with our Creator that is within us. We want to be in alignment with the good that is ours. Wherever our faith says it is so, which should be everywhere. We just want to be in alignment. But sometimes if I'm driving and the little voice is telling me go a different way than the way that I'm used to going, then I want to do my thing. I want to do what I do. What we are working with is our willingness to see it differently, our willingness to try a new thing, to do something different if we are called to do so. I've expressed on here that I struggle with the word obey, because the thing is, we trust God, right? Divine mind, Allah, Creator, one power, one presence, by any name. So then we have to wonder, what may make it difficult? What gives us pause about being one with the one? Because that's what willingness is, being one with that one. That's willingness. But oneness not only requires trust, but it requires our cooperation and our collaboration with the divine right instruction that's coming in. And it's coming in from nowhere but your mind, because guess what? Our mind, our thinking is our connecting link. I point up, but the truth is God is within. I say it all the time. It's our connecting link with our source. So we are here, day 4, on 7 days to figure out what gets in the way of being one with the one by cooperating and collaborating with divine instruction. So the truth is that there's always grace. There's always grace. And the truth is, divine right action is actually always happening. The goal simply is, though, for us to be in intentional alignment, to be in the habit of cooperating and collaborating with divine instruction. Nothing happens outside of the will. I will say this, though. Some things, however, feel better than others. I want to be on the feel good side, which means that stuff happens and we may not like it. And it's not a punishment. Everything comes by right of what we call consciousness, by our thinking. And so we just want to align intentionally and with a smile our actions with the divine instruction, with divine right action intentionally. Because guess what? All of this, not everything that is happening really is for our good. I think it is James, as they say, I counted all joy, the tests and the trials. We just want to work on, especially through the prayer that we talked about yesterday, I am willing. I love the hearts. Y'all know how I feel. I think I got that right. We just want to say that I'm willing to see this differently. We want to bridge our way in. We want to get into the habit. We want to work on being intentional and being in a habit of being in alignment by cooperating and collaborating with the divine instruction that we hear. You guys know our first 7-day journey was surrender, and I go back to it often. Hey, June Martin. Hey, Sherry Green Milligan. We talk about surrender often because when you hit that red light, no one's trying to drive across through moving traffic. I pray you're not. You have, in that position, we have no choice. We have to wait for divine instruction. So surrender was all about that, was all about waiting for divine instruction. So this week with Will, we are just expanding our understanding that divine instruction is always coming down. We just want to collaborate and cooperate and be in alignment. Our willingness is our willing to be one with the one. And that is through the still small voice that is always speaking. And so we work on it in phases. I am going to share from my phone a great Louise Hay prayer. And I always want to give credit where credit is due. Why? Because I wrote the Franklin prayers. I don't want anybody saying somebody else wrote the Franklin prayers. Please pick up your copy, Kindle or paperback on Amazon. So I want to shout out, I love the hearts, man. I love the hearts. I want to shout out Louise Hay because what the prayer was, and I woke up with it this morning, it's another willingness prayer. And so who else is up here? Jane, Sherry, love y'all, in alignment. Let's see, I got the phone turned upside down. Let's see if we can, okay, I got to change some things. I just got a message. Oh goodness, I want to get to this. You guys forgive me for being on the phone, but I worked with my church member this morning. Her name is Angela. Sherry Green Milligan knows Angela. June, you know Angela. And so I said, hey, what is that Louise Hay prayer? All right, so I am willing to release the pattern in my thoughts and in my feelings that have created this condition. Say that again. I am willing to release the pattern in my thoughts and in my feelings that have created this condition. Now, I share that prayer because I definitely want to gather any prayers on willingness, because again, to me, that is the first stage, the first phase of getting into the will. And so instead of biting off big bites, we're spoon feeding. And you know what? This is unfoldment. So we got all the time. We got all the grace. God loves us, man. So we can get through this thing. And I read that I am willing to release the thoughts and the feelings that created this condition. And I say these conditions plural because there's usually more than one or two conditions I'm dealing with that I'd like to see differently. And so releasing the thoughts and the feelings will also help to release the patterns that come up from that thinking. Let's see. Hey there, everybody. Oh my gosh. Hey there. I love all this. Hello. I love y'all so much. And so this willingness is important because I am here because God's trying to get something through us. And so that verse in John says, I come here, and this is again quoting Jesus as speaking, to do the will of the one that sent me. Guess what? Like Jesus, the Christ, we are all put here for the highest level of spiritual attainment that we know. And guess what? We are joint. Let me say that again, joint heirs in the promise. So understand, we are all here. We are all put here to do the will of the one that sent us. I get it though. It's not so easy. There's a whole lot of stuff that has gotten in the way of seeing, even understanding, even hearing what the will is of the one that has sent us here. So if we're put here to do the will of the one that sent us, we got to be able to connect with it. We got to be able to hear it. We got to know what we see when we're looking at it in order to do and to be in alignment with that will. So I just say, let's take it in small bites though, man. We all got it honest. And I mean, we all got it honest. We've all had parents and grandparents, and they had parents and grandparents and people in the experience that we trusted and that we listened to. And there's nothing wrong with it. What I know as a parent now, don't get me to crying and testifying, we're all doing the best that we can with what we know how. And it used to sound so short when my dad used to tell me that when I disagreed with him. Oh, it used to sound so short. I used to be feeling like, man, are you kidding? Who? But they say Bishop Kenneth Ulmer always quotes his mother, and she would always say, keep on living. Just keep on living. So we all got it honest, man. And when I look at my own, and everybody on this that I know that's here now has children, there's a lot of things that we wanted to do different or better or whatever the perception is. And man, we would have done anything we knew better had we known. So I get it now. So I say all that to say, and that's just my case on helping all of us to understand, A, we got it honest, and B, be gentle with yourself. Nobody, you know, everybody that we know of loved us and meant the best for us. So we got it honest. However, we're trying to go higher. We're trying to be better, be stronger, be more like God. We are looking to do the will of the one that sent us. We just gotta go through our stuff to get through our stuff, Reverend Della used to say. So we gotta get through some of these appearances, and we gotta get through some of these relationships and some of these issues and some of these opportunities. We can get through them, and in the form of yellow lights and red lights, we can get through them when we're listening. We can get through them not but by listening first, but by being willing to do the will. And willingness is the first stage, first phase. Don't get defeated. Whew. It's been a day already. It's 12:43. My phone is going off with instruction, and I'll be straightforward. I'm feeling defeated even before I sat here to the computer about a few things, feeling upside down and looking at a whole bunch of stuff to do. However, I am sent here to do the will of the one that sent me. And with that, I'm simply going to pray first. I am willing to see this differently. Then I'm going to pick up my phone again. I'm going to look at this Louise Hay. I am willing to release the thoughts and the feelings that created this condition or these conditions. And then I'm going to pray me a Franklin prayer. I'm going to anchor it all right there with a Franklin prayer. Increase in me. You know what I'm saying? So I just stopped by to tell you, with 18 minutes already under our belt, 12:44, got like 3 places to be at one time and 2 things to do with 4 things to do with 2 hands, that just continue to walk in willingness. They say do a 2-step, but June Martin, Sherry Milligan, sometimes it's a 1-step. It's like that pawn on the chessboard. 1 square at a time is all the pawn can move. 1 square at a time. And so for the pawn, it's not even a 2-step. It's a 1-step sometimes. And so today feels like a 1-step day, but I know that as I praise and as I thank God and I stay in gratitude, it can become a 2-step, and soon I'm gonna get on across that board like the bishop or the rook or some of the other pieces, or maybe like the knight where I go 1, 2, slide to the side. Anyway, chess lesson for another day, y'all. Chess lesson for another day. That said, this is the first time I've ever worn black, and I think it's kind of cool. It's different. I so wish that there was not a glare on my eyeglasses, because sometimes I feel like, you know, stately. I feel like, I feel, I don't know, like an intellectual, but there's such a glare that, you know, gets on them. So we just go with these eyes that God gave us. And we thank God for those. That said, let me go back. I want to look at these notes: will, everything, movement, divine right action, divine right thinking, if there's even such a thing. So definitely to June and to Sherry Green Milligan, who study like I study, we know that there are 5 basic principles that we study, and one of them is the value and power of thought. So even though I kind of was thinking that maybe divine right thinking is something I made up, I don't think it is. I'm sure I read that in a book somewhere. And so that's what we want to work on. But I put movement, and I'm just looking over at my list, at the top of the list, because that's where I have moments like getting into action. And then even when I do get into action, hearts, it feels like it's not enough action. It feels like there's not enough time for the amount of action. It feels like even if I had all the time in the world, that's still not enough time for all the action that's needed to go with the thinking and the shift. But what I know is that God is as instant as we are. What I know is that he will dry the tears of the midnight hour and bring joy in the morning. And morning comes every minute. Morning comes every time we have a shift in perception. Morning comes every time we have a shift in thought. Morning comes every time I am willing to see this differently. Every time I am willing to see even this, whatever it is, differently. So at 21 minutes and 13 seconds, I just want to say that we are joint heirs. And because we are joint heirs, just like it says about Christ in the Christian scriptures in the New Testament, that I have come here to do the will of the one that sent me, that's true for all of us. And so we all have a divine purpose. We all have a divine calling, a unique calling. And even if you feel like you don't quite know what that is, it's okay. Do a one step at a time. I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to hear you, God. I'm willing to just take it one square, one step at a time. A Toastmaster member said of that pawn that, and I'll say this and I'll have to let it go, that as the pawn gets across that board, one step at a time, he gets stronger, or she gets stronger and stronger with every step. And by the time that pawn makes it all the way across that board, it can transform. It gets to become a rook, a bishop, a knight, or even a queen. So to anybody, just be willing. That's all it takes. And if it's a one step, it's a one step. That's okay. If it's one square at a time, it's just one square at a time. But let's just make the one step. Go back to that Galatians, be not weary, what? In well-doing, for in due season, we will get across that board. And we are here to do it together. Let us take our Franklin prayer. Increase in us that will, that willingness that discovers our truest interest. Strengthen in us the will, that willingness, the resolution to perform what that willingness dictates. Let's say it again. Increase in us that will, that willingness that discovers our truest interest. Strengthen in us the resolution to perform what that willingness dictates, in the name and in the nature of the perfection that is within all of us. I will let that be, and so it is. Goodness, you guys, blessings to your day. Love you, Sherry Green. Love you, June Martin. Hey, Tammy Wilson. Hey to everybody who may not be on the live but is coming in. I got to let it go. 12:50. Got to get on to a couple of sites. I love y'all more than life itself. Thank you for being in this with me. I hope that we are in this together. I am willing to see it differently, willing to release what, you guys, the thoughts and the feelings that created these conditions. We can do it together, like the pawn, one square at a time. Have a great, great, great day. Love you.